My girlfriend said he means nothing while wearing the necklace he bought her for Valentines. I couldn't stop staring at the little silver pendant digging into the hollow of her throat. My thumb was still hovering over the screenshot on my phone, the one with his name at the top and that stupid blue heart at the bottom, and she was standing in front of me twisting the necklace chain between her fingers like a nervous tick. He means nothing, she repeated louder this time, like volume could make it truer. My hands felt weirdly numb, like they belonged to someone else. I swallowed, heard my own voice come out quieter than I meant. You don't spend that many nights texting. I can't stop thinking about you, to someone who means nothing, Maya. She flinched when I said it out loud. The words hung between us in the cramped living room, heavier than the laundry still hanging over the chairs and the half-empty wine glasses on the coffee table. Outside, someone's dog barked. Upstairs, our neighbor dropped something and swore. Everything normal. Everything absolutely not normal. Maya crossed her arms over her chest, partly covering the pendant like she'd only just realized it was on display. Her eyes were red and glassy, foundation wearing off in little patches around her nose. You're blowing this out of proportion, she said, and the way her voice shook made it sound like she was trying to convince herself more than me. It's just attention. I like feeling wanted, okay? That doesn't mean I don't love you. It was a Thursday night in March, about 3 weeks after Valentine's Day, and our one-bedroom apartment looked exactly the same as it had that morning when I left for work. The plant by the window was still drooping a bit because I'd forgotten to water it. The mug she'd used for her tea was still on the bench, tea bag slumped at the bottom. Her mismatched socks were still in a little heap by the couch, where she kicked them off last night while we watched Netflix. All these dumb domestic artifacts that said we live here together, while my brain was slowly rearranging itself around the fact that apparently I hadn't been the only one living in her head for a while. I'm 29, she's 27. We've been together just shy of 5 years, living together for 2. I work as a junior architect at a smallish firm, which sounds fancier than it is. I spend a lot of time making other people's designs look presentable on PowerPoints. Maya's a physio at this mid-range gym clinic hybrid place that's always running some promo about summer bodies even in winter. We met at a friend's birthday drinks. She walked up and asked if she could share my table because her heels were personally victimizing her and she needed to sit down or die. Then she roasted my choice of beer, and I was gone. We were that couple who has a song and a shared Spotify playlist and a rotation of 3 joke arguments we reuse at every party. We send each other TikToks all day. We know exactly where the other likes to be pressed when we're trying to be comforting in public. Her hand on the back of my neck, my hand on that little point where the base of her thumb meets her palm. We built a whole little world together out of tiny rituals and inside jokes, which is why sitting there watching her touch another man's gift like a talisman felt so surreal I half expected someone to yell cut. I guess I should back up and explain how we got from sharing fries on a second date to arguing about emotional affairs in a living room that suddenly feels like a set. Maya and I didn't start out tumultuous. If anything, the first couple of years were stupidly easy. We liked the same dumb comedies, the same cheap Thai place, the same brand of bad instant coffee. She got me into early morning walks, I got her into Sunday arvos spent doing absolutely nothing without feeling guilty about it. We met each other's families without any major disasters. My mum adored her, her dad tolerated me in that I'm watching you but I don't hate you way. We had a few big fights, sure. Once about money, once about me forgetting her cousin's engagement party, once about her coming home drunk and picking a fight about nothing because she was stressed. But there was this underlying assumption, we were on the same team. Even when we argued, it was us versus the problem, not us versus each other. That's what I thought anyway. Things started getting weird around the end of last year when she changed jobs. She'd been at a small clinic in the suburbs for a few years, treating old ladies' knees and guys who did their back deadlifting too much. Then she got the job at the fancy new gym in the city. Glass walls, smoothie bar, branded towels, the works. She was rightly excited. It was better pay, better progression, more interesting cases. I was proud of her. It's like less can you fix my arthritis, and more I want to run a half marathon without my hip exploding, she said, grinning, scrolling through the onboarding docs. I actually get to push people instead of just stopping them turning into scarecrow skeletons. Just promise you won't become one of those people who says, no pain, no gain unironically, I said, stealing a chip off her plate. I already am, she said, nudging me with her knee, but only in the bedroom. We were fine, we were good. At the new job, there was a guy. There's always a guy in these stories, right? His name is Joel. I know that now like I know my own name, but back then he was just this PT at work in her stories. The PTs are all so intense, she said one night while we were making dinner. There's this one guy, Joel, who's like if pre-workout became a person. He's nice though. He gave me tips on this runner with plantar fasciitis today. Knew his stuff. Pre-workout became a person made me picture some tanned meathead yelling at people to push through, and I kinda rolled my eyes. But she was talking about him like we talk about work colleagues, amused, mildly annoyed, nothing special. Over time, he came up more. Joel nearly dropped a barbell on his foot today. Funniest thing I've ever seen, don't tell him I said that. Joel swears by these compression socks. He says they changed his life, like okay relax man, they're socks. Joel told my boss I handled this difficult client really well. It was nice, you know, being noticed. That line stuck with me more than it should have, being noticed. It wasn't like I was neglecting her, at least I didn't think I was, but I was definitely in my work as consuming all my brain cells era. Our firm landed a big tender for a mixed-use development, and I was suddenly working late more nights than not, living on vending machine dinners and caffeine. There were a few weeks there where I'd come home and she'd be already in bed or halfway there, Netflix murmuring in the background. We'd kiss, mumble how was your day, and pass out. Rinse, repeat. One Friday. She texted me at around 5:30. Maya, drinks with the new crew after work, don't wait up red. I was buried in a spreadsheet. Me go be social, I'm married to Revit tonight anyway. It didn't ping anything in me. I want her to have friends. I don't want to be the reasonable boyfriend who transforms into jealous psycho the second she mentions a male coworker. Then little things started creeping in. Her phone, which used to live face up on the coffee table or next to the sink, started living glued to her hand, or upside down, on silent. She'd smile at the screen, thumbs flying, then tuck it under her thigh if I walked into the room. When I'd jokingly reach for it to change the song she was playing from Spotify, she'd snatch it back with this weirdly sharp hey that made my stomach go cold. I told myself I was imagining it, that feeling where your gut is whispering something off but your brain is like, we're not sabotaging this, thanks. Valentine's Day was complicated for us. Neither of us is super into big gestures. Our first Valentine's we ordered pad thai and watched Die Hard because Maya insisted it's secretly a love story. After that we kind of set the tone. We'd usually cook together, exchange something small. This year, she said, I've got a late client that day. Can we do something low-key on the weekend instead? I'd already bought her a book she'd been talking about, and some stupid little Lego flowers, because she kills real plants. Sure, I said, we can be anti-capitalist rebels, and do V-Day on Saturday. On the day, she sent me a selfie from the gym in her work polo, captioned, Happy Corporate Love Day, Nerd Red see you tonight. She came home later than usual, around 9:30 in her scrubs, smelling like that crisp eucalyptus clinic smell and faint sweat. She had a little glossy bag in her hand, branded with the gym's logo. What's that? I asked, poking my head around the corner from the kitchen, where I was reheating leftovers. Oh, she said a little too quickly, just some free samples. They had a Valentine's promo thing. She put the bag down on the bench like it was nothing, kissed me, asked about my day, bitched about a client who thought Google was a medical degree. We watched TV, we went to bed. Normal. The next morning, I was looking for a clean mug in the cupboard above the bench when my elbow knocked the little bag over. It thumped onto its side, and something small and solid slid out onto the counter. It wasn't moisturizer samples. It was a jeweler's box. Dark blue velvet, with one of those gold-stamped logos that screams this cost more than $20. My heart did that slow, heavy thing I hate. I picked it up. It weighed almost nothing and way too much at the same time. Maya, I called, trying to keep my voice level. She was in the bathroom, toothbrush in mouth. Yee, she mumbled. What's this? She patted out, foam at the corner of her lips, hair in a messy bun. Her eyes flicked to the box and then back to my face. The pause was so tiny you'd miss it if you weren't looking for anything. I was looking. Oh, that, she said, rinsing her mouth in the sink and buying herself 2 extra seconds. It's a client gave it to me. Well, technically a friend, from work. A friend, I repeated. She wiped her mouth with the back of her hand, avoiding my eyes. We drew names for a Valentine's secret Cupid thing at work, okay? It's dumb, he went overboard. Hey. She sighed, Joel, it's really not a big deal, Alex. I opened the box. Inside was the necklace I was staring at later that night when she said he meant nothing. Silver chain, simple little pendant with a tiny stone in the middle, understated, exactly her taste. Looks not cheap, I said, trying for lightness and landing somewhere in the vicinity of strangled. She rolled her eyes. He's one of those guys who doesn't know what small gift means. He probably gets discount through some deal his brother has or whatever. Honestly, I told him it was too much. And he still gave it to you, I said. She shrugged, half guilty, half dismissive. Should I have thrown it in his face? Relax. I wasn't sure I was even going to wear it. You weren't sure, I said. You're not like in a relationship, Maya. You can say no to expensive jewelry from dudes with biceps. Wow, she said, crossing her arms, toothbrush still in hand like a tiny white flag. Okay, little judgy, aren't we? I'm just saying it feels weird, I said. If one of the architects gave me a watch for Valentines, you'd have some questions. She paused, then snorted. If one of the architects gave you a watch, I'd assume it was a tax dodge or a bribe, but sure. You know what I mean, I said. She stepped closer, put a hand on my chest. Alex, it's just a necklace. He's a coworker. He has a girlfriend. I have a boyfriend. I love you. End of story. That should have reassured me. Instead, it felt like someone putting a band-aid over a crack in a dam. She didn't wear the necklace the rest of that week. I noticed, because of course I did. It stayed in the little box on her dresser, lid closed. I told myself I'd overreacted, that workplace gift exchanges are weird and people misjudge boundaries all the time. Then, slowly, it started making appearances. First, on a random Tuesday night when we went out with friends. She came out of the bedroom in a black top and jeans, hair curled a little, the necklace catching the light. I made some dumb joke, ooh fancy, and she rolled her eyes. It matches the neckline, don't start, she said. Then she wore it to work because it goes with this blouse. Then again, and again. By the time March rolled around, it was just part of her. At the same time, the phone stuff ramped up. Maury late-night giggles at the screen. Maury turned over phone, more just 1 sec as she stepped into the hallway to reply to something. I did the stupid thing, the thing you're not supposed to do in healthy relationships. The thing everyone on here says is a boundary violation and a sign you should break up anyway. One night she went to have a shower and forgot to bring her phone into the bathroom. It buzzed on the coffee table. Once, twice, 3 times. Same contact. Joel male with the little muscle emoji. My stomach dropped. I stared at it. I told myself, don't. I also told myself, if you're wrong, at least you'll know you're paranoid and can work on that in therapy. I know all the arguments. If you feel the need to snoop, the trust is already broken. Consent, privacy, all that. I'm not proud of what I did, but I picked up her phone, thumbed the screen, and it unlocked. Our general code is the same. We set it together so we could skip the what's your password dance. The top of the chat was ordinary enough. Memes, stuff about clients, complaints about her boss. Then I scrolled up. Joel, you looked today, BTW. Maya, lol, shut up. Joel, no, seriously. Joel, that color is dangerous on you. A little further down. Maya, if my 4 p.m. no-show one more time, I'm going to throw her spine out of alignment. Joel, want me to come keep you company? Maya, you just want an excuse to sit down between sessions. Joel, that too, but mostly you. Then more. Joel, tell me something good, today's been ass. Maya, Maya, my BF brought me coffee in bed this morning like a legend. Joel, damn, raising the bar for us all. Joel, he's a lucky guy, TBH. That one hurt in a weird way, complimenting me while low-key wooing her. Cool, the more I scrolled, the worse it got. Maya, sometimes I feel like I'm just, there you know, like a piece of furniture. Joel, in what way? Maya with Alex. Maya, he's amazing, don't get me wrong. Maya, but we're so stuck in routine. Maya, I feel like I could disappear for a week, and as long as I paid the internet bill, he'd barely notice. That one made my chest physically ache. I hadn't realized she felt like that. Joel, I'd notice. Joel, I notice you. Maya, smooth. Joel, not trying to be smooth. Joel, you're just not background noise, you know. There were late-night messages, too. After I'd gone to bed early, wiped out from work, leaving her on the couch. Maya, you ever just want to get in your car and drive until everything looks different? Joel, all the time. Joel, you say when I'll pick the playlist. No overt let's hook up. No nudes or sexts, at least not in the portion I saw. Just this constant drip of emotional intimacy that felt way too close for comfort. The last message in the thread, the one that made my hands start shaking, was from earlier that evening, while we were both technically in the same room. Joel, can't stop thinking about last night. Maya, stop. Joel, can't. Joel, you were something else. My vision actually blurred. I had to blink a few times to read it again, to make sure I wasn't misinterpreting some metaphor about a workout. Maya, don't. Maya, I feel so guilty. Joel, don't. Joel, he doesn't have to know. Maya, I know. I put the phone down like it had burned me. That's when I heard the shower turn off. I sat there on the couch, heart pounding, hands on my knees, trying to figure out how to breathe normally. When she came out a few minutes later in her oversized t-shirt, towel around her hair, she smiled like nothing was wrong. You look like you've seen a ghost, she said, flopping down next to me. I opened my mouth, closed it. My brain was doing that thing where 10 different scripts scroll past at once. Scream, cry, leave, demand an immediate explanation, pretend I hadn't seen anything and confront her later when I'd calmed down. What's wrong? She asked, frowning now. I heard myself say, too calmly, how was last night? She blinked. What? Last night, I said, when you went for emergency drinks with the crew because of that client meltdown. Her eyes flickered for a fraction of a second. It was fine, she said. Why? Where'd you go? She grabbed the towel around her hair, fiddling with the edge. Just the usual bar near the gym. Who was there? Why are you cross-examining me? She snapped. What is this? Joel was there, I asked. She stared at me. Of course he was there, he works there, she said, slow like she was talking to a child. Alex, what's going on? I took a deep breath. I read your messages, I said. Her face went through 4 different emotions in about 2 seconds. Confusion, shock, anger, something like shame. You what? She whispered. I read your messages with Joel, I said. Your phone was going off, I picked it up. I shouldn't have, I know, but I did, and I saw. You had no right, she cut in, voice rising. You're right, I said, I shouldn't have had to. That shut her up for a second. You told him I treat you like furniture, I added, quietly, like you could disappear and I wouldn't notice. She sagged a little, eyes filling. Alex, she said softer, that's not, I was venting, it's not literally how I feel. The thing is, that line hurt more than the implied physical stuff at first. I'd been working my ass off, thinking I was doing it for us, and she was quietly telling another man she felt invisible. And last night, I pressed, what happened last night that he can't stop thinking about? She looked at the floor. Her fingers went instinctively to the necklace. Even though she wasn't wearing it, she kept reaching for the bare skin like the phantom of it was there. Nothing, she said, too fast. Maya, I said. We kissed, she muttered. I waited. And we went back to his, she added, so quietly I almost didn't hear it. There it was, the line crossed. I felt like someone had opened a trapdoor under me. Part of me had still been clinging to the idea that this was just emotional cheating, which is bad enough but somehow easier to rationalize. Hearing her say she'd been in his bed while I was on our couch made something in me go very, very still. How many times? I asked. She squeezed her eyes shut. Twice, she said. Alex, I'm so sorry. I never meant for it to go this far. It just happened. That phrase, it just happened, I wanted to laugh in her face. Things don't just happen repeatedly. They're not earthquakes. I need you to tell me the truth now, I said. No half measures. Are you in love with him? She opened her eyes. They were glossy and huge. No, she said, I swear. I care about him, but I'm not. I don't love him. I love you. You love me, I repeated, my voice cracking, and you slept with him. Twice. She nodded, tears spilling over. I know, she whispered. I know, I hate myself. We went in circles for a while. Her crying, saying she was lost, feeling unappreciated, suffocated by routine. Me staring at the wall, alternating between wanting to scream and wanting to curl up under a blanket and disappear. You've been so gone, she said at one point, gesturing vaguely. Always at work, always exhausted, always distracted. I tried to talk to you, but it felt like you were somewhere else. So your solution was to find someone who made you feel shiny again? I asked. She flinched. I'm not saying it was right, she said. I'm just trying to explain. We argued about the necklace too, because of course we did. Why are you still wearing that thing? I snapped. She grabbed it defensively. Because it's pretty, she said. Because it goes with my clothes. Because I forgot to take it off before this argument, and I'm not going to rip it off and make some dramatic gesture for your benefit. He bought it for you for Valentine, I said. It's not just jewelry at this point. It was a work thing, she said weakly. It stopped being a work thing when you started sleeping with him, I said. That's when she said it. He means nothing, through gritted teeth, hand on his gift. He means nothing, she repeated. like if she hammered it in enough times it would wedge over the truth. It was a mistake, a stupid, selfish, awful mistake. I don't want him, I want you. Can't you understand that people fuck up sometimes? People fuck up, I said. Sure, they don't usually fuck the person they're emotionally attached to and lie about it to their partner, though. That's not fair, she shot back. You don't know what it's like to feel invisible, to feel like you're screaming into a void and someone finally looks at you and actually sees you and you react. That hit a nerve because honestly I do know what that's like. Not with another woman, but with work, with friends, with any place you feel competent and valued when you don't feel that at home. I didn't say that though, because right then I was less interested in empathy and more interested in not collapsing. We took a break from arguing when she started hyperventilating. I got her a glass of water because muscle memory is a bitch, and then sat as far from her on the couch as the cushions allowed. She sipped, wiped her face, stared at the TV, which was playing some cooking show on mute. I'll end it, she said finally, voice hoarse. I'll delete his number, switch shifts, whatever, I'll do whatever it takes. I'll go to therapy, we can go to therapy. Please, Alex, don't throw us away over him. I'm not throwing us away, I said. You already did that. I'm just deciding what to do with the rubble. Silence stretched between us. You don't honestly think he means nothing, I added. People don't blow up good relationships for nothing. She shook her head, eyes filling again. I didn't blow us up for him, she said. I blew us up because I'm a coward who didn't know how to say, hey, I need more from you. He was just there, ready to fill the space. He could have been anyone. That hurt in a whole different way. The idea that it wasn't even about him specifically, that he was just the first person to step into a gap I didn't even know existed. So you're saying our relationship was so shaky that any random PT with decent banter could knock it over, I said. I'm saying I was so shaky, she said quietly, and I didn't tell you, that's on me. We went back and forth like that for what felt like hours. She swung between self-flagellation, I'm a terrible person, I don't deserve you, and insistence that we could fix it if I'd just try. I rotated between numb questions and sudden spikes of anger. At some point, I asked the question that had been buzzing at the back of my brain since I read those messages. If I hadn't seen your texts, I said, would you have told me? She opened her mouth, closed it, looked at her hands. I don't know, she whispered. And that, weirdly, was the moment something in me settled. Because the way I see it, there are two kinds of cheaters. The ones who screw up, panic, and come clean because they can't live with the lie. And the ones who screw up and then build a whole second life around keeping that version of themselves hidden. Maya was clearly on track to be the second, if I hadn't accidentally tripped on the wire. You do know, I said. You wouldn't have told me. You would have let me sit on the couch next to you while you texted him from the bathroom and told yourself as long as I didn't know, it wasn't really hurting me. She didn't argue, she just cried harder. I wish I could say I had some big cinematic blow-up, that I threw his necklace out the window, or kicked over a chair, or gave an epic speech. In reality, I just got tired, the kind of tired that sinks into your bones. I think you should go stay at Jess's for a while, I said eventually. Jess is her best friend. I need space to figure out if there's anything left here I can live with. Her head snapped up, you're kicking me out. I'm asking you to leave, I said, temporarily. I can't look at you right now and also function as a human. I need to sleep. I need to go to work tomorrow and not burst into tears over toilet plans. I need a break from this. She stared at me, chest heaving. If I go, she said slowly, how do I know you won't just decide you're done and lock me out of your life? You don't, I said. That's kind of the point. Actions have consequences you don't get to control. She laughed then, ugly and wet. Wow, she said. You've been saving that line up, haven't you? No, I said. I would have preferred never having to use it. She packed a bag, grabbed some clothes, her phone charger, skincare stuff, a few random items like she was going on an unplanned weekend trip. She didn't take the necklace off. I watched her hesitate at the door, like she was waiting for me to call her back. I didn't. When she left, the apartment felt weirdly bigger and smaller at the same time. Milo, our cat, padded out from under the bed, blinked at the empty doorway, and then at me, like, what did you do? Don't look at me like that, I muttered, scratching his head. That was a week and a half ago. Since then, we've had a couple of heavy, miserable conversations over the phone and one in person at a cafe where neither of us made eye contact for the first 10 minutes. She says she's cut things off with Joel. She showed me a screenshot of a message where she told him she couldn't see or talk to him anymore. His reply was, I get it. I'm sorry, which is infuriatingly reasonable. I don't know if I believe her. Even if I do, I don't know if that changes anything. The fact remains, the moment she felt lonely, she went to him instead of me. The moment things got exciting, she didn't stop herself, and when given the chance, she admitted she probably never would have told me. There have been moments where I've almost texted her, okay, let's try therapy, let's work this out, because 5 years is a long time to just throw away. Then I remember lying in bed that night, looking at the dent in her pillow, knowing she'd been lying on someone else's chest the night before. I remember her fingers on his necklace while she told me he meant nothing. My stomach twists and I put the phone down. My mum, when I told her a softened version, Maya got close to someone at work. She crossed a line, said, people make mistakes, love. You can come back from this if you want. My sister said, if you take her back without really making her earn it, you're telling her this is an okay way to treat you. My therapist, yes, I made an emergency appointment, highly recommend, asked, if nothing changed about Maya, if this same situation played out again in 2 years, would you be surprised? I sat there for a long time before saying no. And that, I think, is the crux. It's not about punishing her or getting revenge. Trust me, if I wanted revenge, I'd have options. I know his Instagram handle. I know where they work. It's about whether I can rebuild trust with someone who showed me, very clearly, that when she feels neglected, she won't tell me. She'll look elsewhere for validation and hope it never comes to light. I don't know yet what I'm going to decide. Part of me wants to cut it clean. Tell her to come get the rest of her stuff, divide the books and the crockery and the dumb prints we bought at markets. To free us both up to start again with someone else, hopefully a little wiser, a little less careless with hearts. Another part of me remembers the version of us on that second date sharing fries, the version of us building IKEA furniture at midnight, the version of us sitting in a hospital waiting room when her grandma had a fall, holding hands so tight my fingers went numb. That part of me wants to believe people can screw up badly and still grow into someone worth trusting. But then I picture her in that PT's apartment, texting me that she was exhausted from emergency drinks, wearing the necklace he bought her for Valentine, telling me I was crazy for seeing anything wrong with it. I picture her saying he means nothing, while clutching that pendant like a rosary. And I wonder if what I'm clinging to is love, or just fear of starting over. If this were actually on Reddit, I know there'd be a barrage of comments telling me, once a cheater, always a cheater, leave, self-respect, you deserve better. There'd probably also be a few saying, relationships are hard, nobody's perfect, you can rebuild. Here's the ugly truth, both things can be true. She can be more than this worst version of herself and still not be someone I can stay with. I can understand why it happened and still decide that my boundary is not with me. What I do know is I'm done being gaslit by a shiny piece of jewelry. Next time someone tells me he means nothing while wearing something he gave them, I'm going to listen less to their words and more to the way their fingers keep reaching for the pendant like they're afraid of losing it.